Hi, my name is Mark Hart of Osprey Consulting, and today we're going to be talking about loading a group trial balance into ONESOURCE Tax Provision using the ONESOURCE APIs. First of all, let's take a look at ONESOURCE Tax Provision. We're going to focus on an entity called Tax Tech Limited with the code TTL, and you can see we've got a PBT of 0 and permanent differences of 0, but that's all going to change in a moment. Next, let's look at our trial balance file. ONESOURCE accepts a number of different trial balance formats. We're using the 4-column CSV import option today, and you can see we've got our entity TTL with a number of chart of account codes and amounts. For those that need a bit more transformational help to get it into that right format, we'll talk about that in just a moment. Now for the APIs today, we're going to be using our favorite tool for the ONESOURCE APIs, which is Alteryx. And you can see here, we've got a number of pre-built API tools that Osprey Consulting have created. First of all, we've got a set that enable the integration between ONESOURCE Corporate Tax and ONESOURCE Tax Provision. So that's removing return data over, or if you want to, using it as a way of calculating your tax provision for UK tax purposes. We've also got some pre-built OCT, ONESOURCE Corporate Tax APIs, and we're going to focus on the OTP ones, and we're building these out all the time. So you can see we have a pre-built workflow here, and what this workflow is doing is it's enabling us to leverage that file I just showed you and submitting it directly to ONESOURCE, and it will submit the trial balance across all of your group entities or piecemeal if you prefer. It's designed so that you can simply enter your own data into the setup file without our assistance, but you can see we've got an area to add our API username and password or our client secret. It's also asking for the region as ONESOURCE uses 3 different regions, EMEA, APAC and the US, and this pre-built works on all 3. It's also asking for our target data set, which of course will change year on year, and the file path of our file. We've just dropped it on the desktop. In terms of the stages that the workflow is going to take us through, first of all, it's going to request a bearer token. A bearer token is essentially permission for us to be able to interact with the system via APIs. Next, it's going to ask for the dataset list in ONESOURCE Tax Provision, and it's going to compare it to our dataset that we want to submit to in order to get the correct data that we require. Next, we're going to submit to ONESOURCE a trial balance import job ID request, and that will give us back a code which allows us to submit the trial balance to ONESOURCE Tax Provision. And finally, we're going to use that job ID to submit the trial balance itself and ask for a status update, confirm that it's been submitted correctly. So let's click run. Now, one of the things we love about Alteryx is just how quickly you can use those APIs. Why do we prefer APIs over some of the other methods for loading a trial balance? Well, it's really to do with all the different APIs that we can use. So not only can you use it to submit trial balances, but you can use it to submit all sorts of other data, including manual perms, temps, and after tax adjustments, which is what we leverage for the OCT to OTP integration, but also to extract data using the new OData APIs that have been launched by ONESOURCE. So you can see that was all processed in 26.5 seconds. We do have an API checkup here, which essentially takes the output out of the final API and just double checks the status code and gives us a red error if that's not submitted successfully. But let's go back into OTP and we'll click refresh. And you can see we now have our 25 million of PBT and we have an adjustment of 213,000. Let's take a look at that adjustment. Now this is an adjustment that we set up as part of the bridge import configuration, and you can see that a number of our chart of account codes have been automated to create this P250 meals and entertainment add back, which you can see has come through as 213,000. If we double check the bridge import, you can see the time and date stamp of that import. And of course, we could drill down further to find out what chart of account codes have been flagged. So that's a really quick outline of the integration or the API import. Just a quick note on some of the other functionality. It is worth noting, first of all, you do have that requirement around a 4 or 6 column import, but a lot of people might receive that information in a different format. We think Alteryx is a great way to transform any data you receive into that required format to be able to upload direct to OTP, and you could do that all within this one workflow here. The other thing to note is, because Alteryx is API enabled, it does also allow you to build out the APIs to extract that information directly from your source system. So you can connect this to your SAPs, your Oracles, etc. Leverage those APIs within those systems, extract it directly into this workflow, and directly back into ONESOURCE Tax Provision in one single push of a button. Extracting and pushing in that data in a matter of minutes. Well, thank you very much for listening. If you'd like to hear any more from us about our ONESOURCE APIs or anything else tax technology related, please do reach out. And thanks very much for listening.